and to promote it so that you truly take full advantage of it over the 4 years that you were here at Cornell. So I'm an educator. I was a middle school teacher for 8 years, and then I became more insane and decided to go into administration, and I'm now a high school principal. So everything for me always goes back to education. So on your tables tonight, you had that little card with a couple of questions. So it's like a little pre-assessment here to see how well you were actually working on those questions. So one of the questions asked about really the ideals of the tradition program. So this is where you have to interact with me. What are some of the ideals? What are the true foundational ideals of the tradition program? And this is for freshmen to answer. If you're the upperclassmen advisors, you guys can not shut. So freshmen, tell me, what's an ideal? Right now you are horrifying Chris.
I'm always going to be the bad guy.
Service, thank you! Service is one of the big ones, absolutely. So what's another one?
Leadership.
There we go. Service, leadership, academics. Another biggie. You have to have a what in order to be in the tradition program? A job. So it's also work. So it's really work, service, and scholarship. You have to review them. Work, service, and scholarship are the 3 true ideals of the tradition program. So again, a little check-in. How many hours of work do you need? Oh, it's better. How many hours of service do you need? 100, and then there's how many hours of flex time in there? 50, which is actually a nice feature. I did not have that feature when I was here. It was actually 350 when I was here. Getting a little
4,000 went a lot farther went back in your day.
So down here, work, service, and scholarship are the ideals of the program. How many of you have done some service hours? Hopefully at some point, correct? How many just completed hours over your holiday break?
She can have a cheerleading uniform.
How many have done 10 hours so far for the year? How many are up to 20? 40? How many have done none?
Do you think they'll
How many were not aware until 2 minutes ago that you had 2 hours? So again, my goal in doing this is really to get you to think about the tradition program. For me, the program of tradition really made my Cornell experience. I was telling Chris before, I love coming back to campus because I am a Cornell alum and I get, rah-rah. She kept saying, don't you get rah-rah about Cornell? Yeah, I get rah-rah about Cornell and something about 150 years this year, blah, blah, blah. That's all good. But for me, my Cornell experience was really defined by the tradition program. And it's the monetary aspect of it, but way more than that, it's the experience. So again, I know you're freshmen, and you're learning more and more about this program, but truly understand what the program is, take advantage of all the things it has to offer to you. So for me, when I graduated in 2002, I was calculating it earlier, well over $20,000 that I benefited from Cornell, which is awesome. That's in tuition replacement that I don't have to pay back in loans now because tradition covered it for me when I was here. It's for internship, it was for student work-study job. You still do those, correct?
Yes.
It was for, I got to go work as a community action fellow at the time in a downtown organization. So all these different things that monetarily I was able to do because of tradition. Way more than that, it was the experiences that I got. And it all goes back to that service. So remember the foundations, what were they again? Work, service, scholarship. Work, service, scholarship. That service piece is really what it all went back to for me. And one of the defining experiences for me in tradition was I got to have an experience of environmental education. At the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do with life, had no clue really, to be honest. I knew that I liked science, and I was always a science geek. But tradition gave me the opportunity to go to Alaska and work in environmental education for about 3 months over a summer. And I didn't have to pay for that. And the organization I worked for didn't have to pay me. So I got that experience, and I was doing an amazing service. But in the process, I was getting that experience that eventually led me to realize, I want to do this for my life. And became a teacher, and now I'm in administration. So again, the tradition program is really an amazing program, and I hope you truly understand it, learn more about it, constantly get involved in it, and make sure that you use it to all that you can. Okay, so that's my sales pitch for tradition program, in case you didn't catch on. Again, it all goes back to that service aspect. And not just service for the benefit of getting the award money, but service to really make sure that you are serving your community and getting into service in a way that it's lifelong. It's not just one project. It's not just an hour of picking up trash on the side of the road, which I did every spring here at Cornell. It's making that part of your life and doing lifelong service. So on that note, the Deb Newman Award is, I'll give you a little history very quickly. In 2001-2 school year, my very close friend and I, Deb Newman, we were members of the SAC. Are there SAC members here?
Student Advisory
Awesome.
Council.
You're fantastic. Thank you for being on the SAC. We were co-chairs of the SAC, which is the student leadership group of the Cornell tradition. We decided that we had had this amazing experience in the tradition program. We truly understood what service was and what it could do for a community. And we wanted to make sure that we were recognizing people in the Ithaca community that had truly dedicated their lives to service in some form or fashion. So we, as an SAC, Deb and myself as kind of the leadership team, set out on this mission to create an award that would recognize a community member from Ithaca. And we did so that first year in 2002 to meeting Mel Agrito, who comes back every year. So fantastic. If you don't know Mimi, stop by and say hello to her. She's like the queen of Ithaca. In case you don't know her, stop by and say hello. She says she's retiring in April. She told me that a decade ago, and she's still here working, so I'll blink when I see it. But the award we established in 2002 was to recognize members of the Ithaca community that had dedicated their lives to service. Shortly after that, in 2002, Deb Newman was killed in an automobile accident, and this award was renamed in her honor. So every year for me, this is also about coming back. Emotional, Chris. Here's my moment. Here's my moment.
We love you, Todd.
Thank you. Every year it's about honoring Deb Newman, and she was an incredible person that, quick little phrase, you give her lemons, she made lemonade. And she was just an amazing, amazing person. So this award is in her name and in her honor, and her parents also created an endowment so that every year the award recipient now gets $1,000 to give to an organization of their choice. So this is also all part of this organization that you are part of, being a Tradition Fellow. So for me, each year, it's about trying to think about service and to define service in a way that recognizes and really truly honors my friend Deb and her life. So as a teacher for 8 years, I cheated every year. When I had to give this little speech, I would always make my students do it for me. And they always called me out on it. So I would ask them every year, like, tell me what service means to you. It was a really easy way to create a speech every single year. Awesome. And it worked really well for 8 years as a teacher, and now I don't have that because I'm a principal, and it's just different. So I still had to pick 2 of my favorite all-time quotes from students regarding service, and going back to what I said a minute ago about service in a way that really becomes lifelong. So these are just 2. One is from Tony. This is a quote from an 8th grade student. I think service and volunteering are important because everyone needs a little helping hand at one point or another. Whether it is in a time of despair, struggle, sadness, or even stress, any help you can receive shouldn't be taken for granted. Without service, we would live in a solitary world. Everyone would live their life on their own, doing their own thing. Because of service, we're able to live in this world as we do as a society. This is a very reflective young man.
8th grader.
An amazing way to think about service. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, but equally important, and this is one of my favorites as well, was Ellen, my little sassy 7th grader. Service is the act of putting forth an effort to help others. To me, service means to stop complaining about what should be done and actually putting on your big girl pants and doing something to make the world a better place. So whether you take Tony's rather reflective, serious idea of service, or Ellen's more sassy, get your butt out of your chair and do something attitude, both of them equally share my view of service needs to be part of your life and making your community a better place. So with that said, this year we honored Deb's legacy by recognizing Ms. Jennifer Engel. And as Susan said earlier, unfortunately she was not able to join us tonight, but her nominator is here, so I'm going to ask her to come up and join me as I read all these wonderful things about Jennifer and then